The first of that is to generate energy, and you generate energy by connecting to the source. And that is what we will talk about, inshallah. Our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters, when 15 centuries ago, or close to that, a window opened in the heavens. And the first word that was revealed was read. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, read in the name of your Rabb who created all that exists. What was there to read? That was the first word revealed. There wasn't anything there to read in the sense that we know. So what was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What was he ordering him to read? Read what? Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah rahimahullah ta'ala says, there are two books. There is a closed book and there is an open book. And he said the closed book is the Quran. And closed not in the sense of being hidden, but closed meaning it's a book which you can shut and open. And he says the open book is the kainat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is the world. So when he said read, it means read the signs. And that is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said read. He said iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Allah did not say iqra bismi rabbika Allahumma. Allah said iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Allah is showing and pointing to His creation. The Quran, my brothers and sisters, also taught us the sequence of learning, of how to learn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna fi khalqi samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafi al-layli wal nahari la ayatin li ulil albab. Verily, behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for people of understanding, or men of understanding. It's a great tragedy. And the ayat after that from Surah Al-Imran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, who are these ulil albab? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Alladhina. Who are the ulil albab? الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. The Quran taught us the methodology of teaching, the sequence of teaching. It's a tragic thing that the Muslims have fractured learning, that the Muslims do not follow the methodology of the Quran when they teach. Allah said, who are the ulil albab? For whom there are signs in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the day and the night. Who are these people? The people of intelligence, who are these people? الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. These are the people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. Standing and sitting and lying on their sides. The three conditions of the human being. There is no fourth condition. What is the meaning of يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ? It means to remember Allah, means to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to always be aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Alaq, He mentioned this with regard to Abu Jahl, but the ayah is for all of us. Alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara. Is he not aware that Allah is watching? Knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge and understanding of the Creator, bowing to the Creator in submission, sujood before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in submission, obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every aspect of life, taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ihsas that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me, every aspect of my life. First part of being intelligent. First part. Remember, two parts in sequence. First part of being intelligent is to recognize your Rabb. And then notice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say aw yatafakkarun. He said wa yatafakkarun. If you write this sentence in Arabic with aw yatafakkarun, grammatically the sentence is correct, but that is not how the revelation of the Quran is. Allah said wa yatafakkaruna fi khalqis samawati wal ard. People who understand their Rabb, people who are obedient to their Rabb, when they and the same people, when they reflect in the creation of the heavens and the earth, what happens automatically? رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا سُبْحَانَكَ. Oh our Rabb, you have not created this in vain. All glory be to you. فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Save us from the hellfire. Automatically, when the Muslim, when the mu'min, when he recognizes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then he looks at the creation, automatically his thoughts go to his own akhirah and he says, Ya Rabb, this you have created, this beautiful kainat that you have created, whether it is inside me, whether it is outside me, you have created it not in vain. This is not an accident. The stupid people of the world, they say that the creation of the world is an accident. They are too stupid to understand that accidents break things. Accidents don't make things. If I tell you my car is not working, I tell you go have an accident, it will be fine. If I say I have a headache, go have an accident, your headache will go away. Senseless. I mean, the people who say this, they are the accidents of the world. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But when a mu'min who understands Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he does research in the creation, when the Muslim scientist looks at the world, automatically he says, Subhanaka faqina adhaban nar. So what did Allah create, my brothers and sisters? Let's look at some of the signs of our Rabb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the blue whale. 108 feet long, 32 meters, 190 tons in weight. The largest creature that ever existed. The slide over there gives you an example, a comparative analysis of what the size of the blue whale is, and that's a scale diagram compared to the biggest of dinosaurs, compared to buses, compared to aeroplanes, and so on. Ajib, eh? That is a picture of a blue whale breaching. Breaching is when a whale completely comes out of water, clears and jumps and goes back. Joy of life. Imagine, through water, what force and speed must it swim at to be able to come clean out. You're talking about 190 tons becoming airborne. Ajib. Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is our Rabb, my brothers and sisters. This is our Rabb. Rejoice that Allah has given you the basira to recognize Him. Rejoice that you are not among those stupid people of the world who look at this and say this is an accident. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That is a scale diagram of a heart of a blue whale. Roughly the heart of a blue whale is the size of a car, an average car. The call of the blue whale, the sound of it, is 188 decibels. What does that mean? It means it is louder than a jet engine. They have measured blue whales calling in California, off the coast of California. They have recorded them off the coast of Japan, across the Pacific Ocean. This means that if you were a blue whale, you could speak to your brothers and sisters in Australia without a phone. The tongue of a blue whale weighs 4 tons, the size of an elephant. The mouth of the blue whale can hold 90 metric tons. An average caterpillar dump truck holds 10 tons. The mouth of a blue whale holds the equivalent of 9 caterpillar dump trucks. But it can't swallow anything bigger than a beach ball. I want to tell you to keep on asking yourself one question every time I give you a fact. And what's the question? Say why. Say what? Why? Why must you create a mouth that holds 90 metric tons but it cannot swallow anything bigger than a beach ball? Ask yourself, if you were the creator, what would you do? How would you create? Think about that. Ask yourself why. The blow of the blue whale, and that's the picture in the center, that is not the fountain off the coast of Jeddah, that is the blow of a blue whale. 50 feet straight up in the air. Ajib, eh? The calf of a blue whale drinks 400 liters of milk a day. If you had to feed the calf, you would need a whole dairy farm. The blue whale eats krill, and it needs and eats 8,000 pounds of krill, 8 tons of krill per day, which is 40 million krill. Now you know what is a krill? That is a krill. A krill is a small prawn. Blue whales are Shafi'i, so they eat prawns, they are not Hanaf. Interesting thing about a krill is that little thing has actually a lifespan of up to 10 years if it keeps clear of blue whales, obviously. To give you an idea of how big a krill actually is, that's how big it is. The biggest, the Arnold Schwarzenegger of krills weighs 1 gram. Now imagine, if you were a creator, and you created a creature which is 190 tons in weight, more than 100 feet in length, what would you decree as its food? You would decree ships and sharks and, yes? Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decree that something which is that big eats something which is so small? What is the question to ask? Why? Let's go into the air. A bird called the BarTailed Godwit has the longest non-stop flight, migratory flight of 11,500 kilometers. It flies from Alaska to New Zealand non-stop. Now, what does that mean? And takes 9 days and nights. I want you to put yourself in the data. What does it mean? What does it mean to fly non-stop 9 days and nights? It means the sun rises, the sun sets. The sun rises, the sun sets. The sun rises, the sun sets. The bird is flying. It means there is rainstorms, the bird is flying. It means there are snowstorms, the bird is flying. It means there are cities underneath, the bird is flying. It means there are oceans underneath, the bird is flying. It means there are deserts and forests underneath, the bird is flying. It means there is no food, no water. It doesn't eat, it doesn't drink, it doesn't sleep for 9 days and 9 nights. They have discovered that the brain of the bird, of this BarTailed Godwit, half the brain sleeps and half the brain is awake, and after a few hours, this half sleeps and this half is awake. They have no idea how. And remember, this is a small bird. This is not an albatross coasting on 14-foot wingspans. It's not taking advantage of thermals. It's beating its wings for 11,500 kilometers. Ajib, eh? That's the map of from where it goes to where, and that's a flat. If you look at it on the globe, it's like that. We'll go to another bird. Bar-headed goose. Bar-headed geese take off from Alaska, they go straight up, they hit the jet stream current at 33,000 feet, and they go. And they fly in the jet stream current for the same reason that your intercontinental airliners fly in the jet stream current, to take advantage of the force of the wind, the fast flowing wind that circles the earth. Who taught the bar-headed geese that there is the jet stream current? What about the jet stream current? You know what about the jet stream current? The temperature in the jet stream is minus 59 degrees Celsius. Take the same bar-headed goose, say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, and put it in your freezer at minus 6, it freezes. The same bird flies at minus 59 degrees Celsius. The amount of oxygen at that height is almost non-existent. And you know what they found? They say that bar-headed geese actually breathe more efficiently in low oxygen atmospheres. What are they saying? They're saying the bird breathes better when there is no air. Ajib, eh? What's the question to ask? Why? Why? If you were the creator of birds, where would you put their food? If you were the creator of fish, where would you put their food? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the food of birds, not aquatic birds. Birds which are not water birds, He put their food inside the water. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the food of fish in the air. The archer fish shoots down insects from trees and eats them. The kingfisher catches fish, and the kingfisher cannot swim. My brothers and sisters, what's the question to ask? Why? Let me tell you the story of another bird. The ruby-throated hummingbird. Ajib, the khudrat of your and my Rabb. The ruby-throated hummingbird is a small little bird that size. The female is slightly bigger than the male, and that weighs 4.5 grams. 4.5 grams, 1 teaspoon is 5 grams. So the bird is less than a teaspoon. It is smaller than a teaspoon. This bird lives in the forests of South America. In a previous incarnation, when I used to live in Guyana, I have seen this bird in the rainforests, Amazonian rainforests. It looks like a moth. The first time I saw it, I thought it was a moth because it buzzes, literally buzzes. It beats its wings at more than 1,000 RPM. And it is the only bird which can actually fly backwards. So it flies upwards, backwards, up and down like that because it lives on nectar from flowers. So it puts its beak into the flower and drinks nectar and flies backwards out of the flower. Now, this bird migrates and it flies across the Gulf of Mexico. It migrates from South America to North America to the bank of the Mississippi River. Part of that migration, the whole migration route is 2,000 kilometers. Part of that migration route is clear across the Gulf of Mexico, a distance of 600 miles. It takes 26 hours to cover 600 miles. It's not a water bird. If it lands in the water, it becomes fish food. What is the meaning of saying it covers 600 miles in 26 hours? It means the sun has risen. This little bird that size is flying across the open ocean. Waves underneath, winds on top. Little bird is flying. The sun has risen. The sun is at the zenith. The bird is flying. The sun is setting. The bird is flying. The sun has set. Pitch dark night. The bird is flying. Middle of the night. The bird is flying. Does not lose direction. Does not lose speed. Does not lose energy. Doesn't stop for food. Doesn't stop for water. Sun rises again. 2 hours into the new day, the bird lands in the United States of America without a visa. Little bird that size, think about that. Pitch dark night, this bird is flying. Who shows it direction? Who ensures that this bird continues to fly? Who ensures that its bird is held up in the air? Who ensures the bird is supported in its flight? Butterflies, purple crow butterflies in Taiwan in the winter, they migrate 400 kilometers. A butterfly flies 400 kilometers. How many of them? They measured them. 11,500 butterflies per minute cross the highway. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Razzaqudul Quwwatil Mateen? He cannot give food to that little bird in South America in the middle of the rainforest. He needs to make it migrate all the way up to the bank of the Mississippi. He cannot feed the BarTailed Godwit in Alaska. He needs to send it down to New Zealand to eat. What do you think? So what's the question to ask? Why? And the answer is, so that we understand the tafsir of his kalam, where he said, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ صَافَّاتٍ وَيَقْبِضْنَ مَا يُمْسِكُهُنَّ إِلَّا الرَّحْمَنُ إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ بَصِيرٌ. Pity on us that we teach the tafsir of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if there is no creation. And pity on the atheistic scientists who research in the kainat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if there is no Allah. Pity on both of them. How many of the people, how many of our students who are reading this ayah, who are memorizing the Quran and reading Surah Al-Mulk, who are reading the tafsir of this ayah, how many of them know about the birds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created? They just say, who is it that holds the birds? Which bird? Name for me one bird. Tell me something about that bird. Zero. How will you be energized? How will you be electrified if you don't have information about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created? We have fractured the knowledge, my brothers and sisters. We have fractured the knowledge. We teach the knowledge in a way which is not meant to be taught. We teach knowledge in a way which is against the methodology of the Quran. Let's go further. Emperor penguins, the largest of the penguins. You've got the smallest one in Melbourne, in Australia. Amazing thing. I never knew the penguin could be that small when I saw them. Subhanallah, Ajeeb. But the biggest of them are emperor penguins. A big male will stand 6 feet tall. Now, what do penguins eat? Fish. If you were a penguin and it's winter, where would you want to be? Close to the sea. But you know what the emperor penguins do? When they are ready to breed, they go inland, away from the sea, up to 120 kilometers inside. Up to 120 kilometers inside, the penguins go inland. They are not driving Toyota Camrys, they walk. And when they reach there, the females lay a single egg. And the male takes the egg onto his feet. So he's standing in almost attention, the egg is on his 2 feet, and a fold of his belly covers the egg to keep it warm. Right? The females, having laid the egg, the females go back to the sea and they disappear. And they're gone, they're fishing and they're having fun. The male is standing there holding the egg. That's what's called holding the baby. Now, what are the conditions? The conditions are temperatures of -40, -50, gale force winds, and in that temperature, this is what the male colony looks like. Thousands of penguins, male penguins, each one with an egg on his feet, standing in a huddle together, facing inwards. Right? Now remember, if that egg falls to the ground, it's finished. Almost instantly it will be destroyed because of the cold, and before the male can even take it back on his feet. So the egg must always be on the feet of the male with the fold of skin on top. How long do they stand there for? 2 months. 2 months. No food, no water. That's not all. If you were a penguin in that huddle, tell me which is the warmest part of that huddle? On the outside or in the middle? In the middle. So if you were a penguin in that huddle, you would give an arm and a leg to stay there, yes? You would fight tooth and nail to stay there. But you know what the penguins do? You know what emperor penguins do? Voluntarily. Every so many hours, the ones inside, they walk backwards and come out. The ones outside go in. And this cycle continues. In and out. In and out. Know your Rabb. Understand your Rabb. Only then can you worship your Rabb. What's the question to ask? Why? Let me talk to you about talking trees and the bush telegraph. Acacia trees. Acacia trees are the most common tree in the African veldt. Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, and so on. And they are the food of impala, they are the food of kudu, and the food of the various kinds of antelopes. You know what they discovered? They discovered that when the antelope come and start eating from one tree, the tree secretes a very bitter enzyme into the leaves. So that now after eating a few leaves, the antelope doesn't like the taste anymore, so it leaves it. Right? Now this would be amazing enough in itself. But you know what they discovered? They discovered that if one tree is attacked, so to speak, somehow, and they have no idea how, a message is conveyed to all the trees in that area across hundreds of kilometers to say we are being attacked. And trees which are miles away from this tree also secrete the same bitter enzyme at the same time. Talking trees. Talking trees.
Have I just discovered that now?
Yeah.
Is that the tree that the Prophet talks about?
Then, the bush telegraph. Elephants. They have discovered that herds of elephants move in coordinated movements. Now that would be fine enough and difficult and amazing enough if that happened within sight and sound of each other. They discovered that herds of elephants move in coordinated movements across hundreds of kilometers. They discovered now because we have helicopters and we have cameras to view and so on and research. There's a lot of research being done on wildlife, and they find that something happens to a particular herd of elephant in one place. If there is some danger, if somebody is shooting them or something, elephants hundreds of kilometers away are aware of that, and they are moving and they are making their movements in coordination with that and taking precautions to keep themselves safe. Let's go to the sea. That picture on the left is of the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is a ditch in the Pacific off the coast of Japan, off the coast of the Mariana Islands. How deep is it? As you can see there, if you put Mount Everest into that, the mountain would sink and you would have 2 kilometers of water above the mountains. The picture on top is the picture of the bottom of the ocean. That's what the ocean bottom looks like, the Pacific. And the picture on the right is the actual map of the ocean. You can see the island of Guam and this is Papua New Guinea, and that's Japan on top, and this is Australia here. That, my brothers and sisters, is the picture of a submarine that has newly been invented and created, Virgin Submarine, which is Branson's brainwave, which is designed to go to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. It will carry a single passenger. When it happens, it will be the first time that it happens. It's made of carbon fiber and titanium, because I'll tell you in a minute, I'll tell you why you need that kind of construction even to go down there. The reason you need that construction is because the pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is 8 tons per square inch. And 8 tons per square inch is the weight of 74 747 aircrafts. 8 tons per square inch. And that's why you need a titanium steel submarine if you want to go down there and come back out, because if you have anything less, it will get squashed like a can of Coke under the tire of a truck. What is the situation at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? Total darkness all year round. Sunlight never reaches at that depth. Complete darkness always. Temperature of -3 or -4 Celsius, and this is because of, again, the Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm sure those of you who have done physics know that water does not freeze completely. When water freezes, the temperature at the bottom is -4. It is +4, not -4, it's +4, because if it froze completely, then you would have a solid block of ice and everything would be dead. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way of preserving it is that when oceans and lakes and so on start freezing, they freeze from the top, and when they freeze from the top and several feet of water gets frozen and becomes ice, that ice actually acts as a insulator and some level of warmth. Now you might say, well, +4 is not very warm, but that's enough for the animals which live there. So the creatures of the ocean remain alive, and they are able to exist right through winter when the top of the ocean and the top of the lakes and rivers is completely frozen. But the bottom is still fluid and it still goes. And this is what is called the anomalous expansion of water as well. So that's one of the things of physics. But the point I'm saying is that this is the situation at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, something which is completely dark, pitch dark, 24 hours of the day, 365 days of the year, and where the temperature is just above freezing point. Not the best place for things to live, yes? What lives there? That is what lives there. The fang-toothed fish. The anglerfish. Very interesting, the anglerfish. The anglerfish has it's called the anglerfish because it has like a fishing rod. It has a rod on top of the head, and on the edge of that is a glowing light. And this light, as you of course know, is powered by your atomic energy plants in Australia, yes? The light is powered by a chemical reaction in the body of the fish, and the light attracts other fish to it. And of course, you know, if you come close to that mouth, what is going to happen to you? That's what happens. And the sucker octopus. And that does not refer to his attitude, it's just the name that they've given him. And the last time I checked, none of those were made of titanium steel. They are living down at a pressure of 80 tons per square inch. Who feeds them? وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزُقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا كُلٌّ فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. Ajib, Qudrat of Allah, eh? Who feeds them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no moving, living creature is there on the earth, except that its provision is due from Allah. And He knows where it lives, and He knows where it will die, its deposit. And all of this is recorded in a clear book. Why does Allah create these creatures? So that we can read His signs and glorify His greatness and majesty. Let's go up in the air into the sky and into space. The picture on the left is the picture of the blue planet, our Earth, and the picture on the right is the picture of the sun. The sun is roughly 300,000 times the size of the earth. They have measured solar flares, and that's actually a picture of a solar flare, which is 300,000 kilometers in length. One solar flare, if it wraps itself around the earth, is sufficient for us, and sufficient for all our skyscrapers, and all our Buruj this and Buruj that, and for all our ICBMs, and for all our 747s and A380s, and for all, even the ones with jacuzzis on board. But that sun, my brothers and sisters, which is 300,000 times the size of the earth, that sun, in that scale diagram of other things in the solar system and in our galaxy, is less than 1 pixel in size. In this diagram, the sun is not visible because it is so small. And Antares, which is the big ball on there on the right, is 800 times the size of the sun. The radius of it, which is half the diameter. The Milky Way is the galaxy in which all of this is found, including our solar system. And hold your breath, this is one of billions, not millions, billions of galaxies that are found in the visible in the visible sky that we know about. Observable universe. One, the Milky Way. The earth compared to the rest is like a pixel. The earth compared to the sun is like a pixel. The sun compared to the rest is like a pixel. The rest compared to the Milky Way galaxy, one galaxy is like a pixel. The Milky Way galaxy alone is one of billions, and they have not counted. They do not know how many billions. One of billions, like a pixel, and this is in the observable universe. The hadith of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said the first heaven compared to the second is like a ring in a desert. The second compared to the third is like a ring in a desert. The third compared to the fourth is like a ring in a desert. The fourth compared to the fifth is like a ring in the desert. The fifth compared to the sixth is like a ring in the desert. The sixth compared to the seventh is like a ring in the desert. All of this compared to the kursi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like a ring in the desert. And that compared to the arsh is like a ring in the desert. But we teach a hadith as if there is no universe. And we teach about the universe as if there is no kalam of Allah and His Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How will you understand? Challenge of the Quran. سَنُرِيهِمْ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِي بِرَبِّكَ أَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. Sanurihim ayatina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, verily we will show them our signs in the universe and within themselves internally, until it becomes clear and manifest to them that this kalam, this Quran is the truth. And Allah says, this is not sufficient for you, that in regard to this, that your Rabb is a witness over all things. My brothers and sisters, who is this Rabb? Who is this Rabb? Who are we talking about? With whom should we connect? From where must we draw our energy? the best way is to read his own introduction about himself, where he said, هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز عزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. This is Allah. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore the first lesson that I want to talk to you in terms of gear is to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because unless we draw energy, unless we generate energy, we cannot energize anybody. And the way to generate energy is to connect with our Rabb.